let's get to some articles. Are you ready? Saw this on Google Trends. Love to talk about these things. Here we go. Permanent daylight savings time will hurt our health. Permanent daylight savings time will hurt our health. I can tell you, I am miserable today. I am exhausted. I stayed up very, very late last night because I was very confused by the time. This morning, I was just a mess. I'm going to go with it being the daylight savings time issue. But, you know, when you couch something in terms of health, it's almost like you can't, it's almost like a free get out of jail card. It's almost like a free, um, it's an unassailable position. It's for your health. Well, if it's for my health, then it must be important. I hate daylight savings time. I can't understand how it could be bad on our health, but let's go into the article here and see what it says. It says the end of daylight savings time is upon us again. It says an autumn tradition where the United States, Europe, and most of Canada and a number of other countries move their clocks backwards an hour in a sort of Groundhog Day trust fall. We'll move them forward again next spring when the government puts daylight savings back in place. It says, but are we putting our trust in an unhealthy, outdated idea? Now, not according to the United States Senate, which in March passed the Sunrise Protection Act of 2021. If it becomes law, daylight savings time will be permanent. To me, this would be wonderful. It says the call to end the antiquated practice of clock changing is gaining momentum throughout the nation. I think that's true, said Marco Rubio, who first introduced the bill to the U.S. Senate. In a statement, Florida's legislature voted to make daylight savings time permanent in Florida in 2018, but it can't go into effect until it is federal law as well. Oh, that's kind of interesting. You know, they're like, hey, we voted for this. It's already, our state's done. And the federal is like, no, it's not going to work until we vote. It says the bill still has to make its way through the House of Representatives and be signed into law by the president now, if you think that's going to be easy. If or when that is the case, we'll move our clocks forward and leave them that way, permanently living 1 hour ahead of the sun. It says, however, a growing number of sleep experts say the active move of our clocks forward in the spring is ruining our health. Studies over the last 25 years have shown the 1 hour change disrupts body rhythms tuned to the Earth's rotation, adding fuel to the debate over whether having daylight savings time in any form is a good idea. So it says, I'm one of the many sleep experts that knows it's a bad idea, said Dr. Elizabeth Klerman, professor of neurology in the Division of Sleep Medicine at Harvard Medical School. Okay. So the way I understand it is you have, daylight savings time, okay, is the hour ahead. Yes, hour ahead. And then the normal way to go about things is not an hour ahead. So if we don't let's just not do an hour ahead. Let's just stop with the time change. That's where I'm at. I'm not into arguing anything other than can we stop with the time change? Just pick one. Okay. Says your body clock stays with natural light, not with the clock on your wall, and there's no evidence that your body fully shifts to new time. Me personally, I agree with this. But the issue that you have then is, you don't go to work at your job because it's light out and then stop working when it's dark out. If it gets light out at like 6 a.m, you're not going to work and you're not coming home at 3 p.m. when it gets dark, on the shorter times of the year. I think they're going to go into the article and talk about that more. It says between March and November, your body gets less morning light and more evening light, which can throw off your circadian rhythm. Standard time, that's the definition that I never got right earlier. which we enter when we move our clocks back in the fall, is much closer to the sun's day and night cycle. This cycle has set our circadian rhythm or body clock for centuries. That seems like the one we should go with. Standard time. It says that internal timer controls not just when you sleep, but also when you eat, exercise, or work, as well as your blood pressure, your heart rate, and your cortisol rhythm. A call to ban daylight savings time for good has come from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. Current evidence best supports the adoption of year-round standard time, which aligns best with human circadian biology and provides distinct benefits for public health and safety. And so, look, here's the argument now. We all want to get rid of daylight savings time or that whole mess. But it's a question of, are we going to stay on standard time or are we going to stay on daylight savings time? That's the question to me. And to me, I don't care which, just pick one. It says, what's the harm when our internal clocks are offset from the solar day night cycle by even 1 hour? We develop what sleep experts call social jet lag. Studies have shown social jet lag increases the risk of metabolic disorders such as diabetes, raises the risk of heart disease and stroke, and worsens moods disorders such as depression, affects the digestive and endocrine systems, and shortens our sleep duration. It can even reduce life expectancy. It says, making the time change permanent would make the chronic effects of any sleep loss more severe, not only because we have to go to work an hour earlier for an additional 5 months every year, but also because body clocks are usually later in winter than in summer with reference to the sun clock. The combination of daylight savings time and winter would therefore make the differences between body clocks and the social clock even worse and would negatively affect our health even more. Here's the end. It says, why did the Senate pass the bill? There are reasons why the U.S. Senate unanimously passed the Sunshine Protection Act. Proponents say that extra daylight in the evening cuts down on car accidents and crime, increases opportunities for commerce and recreations as people prefer to shop and exercise during daylight hours. Okay. It says, however, research has shown both heart attacks and fatal car accidents increase after the clock falls forward in the spring. Children also end up going to school in the morning while it's still dark with disastrous consequences. It says, when President Richard Nixon signed a permanent daylight savings time into law in 1974, it was a popular move. By the end of the month, Florida's governor called for the law's repeal after 8 school children were hit by cars in the dark. Schools across the country delayed start times until the sun came up. That seems like the right answer. Just wait till the sun comes up and go to school. It says, by summer public approval had plummeted in early October, Congress voted to switch back to standard time. Well, that's fine. Just stay on one. That's what I want. Do you know what it's like to show houses at 5? Like tonight, I was going to go show a house. No, I had an appointment, I'm sorry, at a condo complex that I'd actually been to before. I mean, I knew where it was, but it was pitch black. It's like 6 o'clock. It was pitch black. It was crazy. Similar, and I mean, I guess I'll get used to it, right? You don't have a choice. It says it really sucks to show houses in the winter because it's dark and you can't see anything. So, if you're lucky, you go see the backyard first of a house before you go inside, just because you're not going to see it by the time you walk through. Anyway, that's just me. A similar backlash occurred when the U.S. first implemented daylight savings time in 1918 as a way to reduce demand for electricity usage by adding sunlight to the end of the day in response to World War I. Studies since have found little to no cost savings from the practice. The time switch was so unpopular that the law was repealed the following year. So the United States has tried permanent daylight savings time twice before and it ended early. The UK tried it once before and it ended early. Russia tried it once, so did India, and it ended early. I think we should learn from history. So no one here is saying like it's a great idea to move the clocks up. That's what I'm reading. They're just like, just stop with changing the time. Permanent daylight savings time, not so great. Would do a better job if we didn't. What do you think? Put it in the chat, put it in the comments below. Let's continue